Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. We are back into set 21 reveals, and today we're going over green. Now, I don't want to shoot from the hip too freely, but both the green archetypes in set 21 look kind of good. Cell might be the lesser of the two, so who knows if that'll actually make meta splashes. I think it'll actually be heavily dependent on the ban list. But at the very least, this archetype has some very interesting cards that we'll go over. But first, guys, I got a shout out for the collectors here. So a friend of mine, Josue, is actually hosting a raffle for his Beckett 10 Goku Vegeta Path to Victory leader. This is with the world stamp. So if you guys are collectors and want to get in on that, I'm going to drop the link down in the description. Reason I'm shouting this out is Josue is actually going to donate a portion of the earnings to my comic book, New Mafia Genesis. Man, I really couldn't ask for better friends, to be quite honest with you. They've been giving me so much support in this project, and I'm forever in their debt. But yeah, so he's doing that for me and obviously for himself. So we're going to be shouting this out here every so often. I'm going to link it down in the description. If you want to enter the raffle, go ahead and check out the price points if it interests you. Anyways, let's get on into the Cell leader. So we have the Cell Ball, which is I think the first time we've seen this referenced in the card game. Maybe it's been on like one or two other cards. When this card's placed in your leader area, place the one Ginger Town from your deck in your opponent's battle area. We'll read that card in a second. Activate main, switch card to rest mode, and place one green android from your hand at the bottom of your deck. Draw two. That's a really great effect because of the Awaken. So when you place at 5 or less and there's a green cell with energy cost of 3 in play, play out to one android 17 and 18, both green with energy cost of 2 from your deck to your opponent's battle area. Shuffle your deck and then add cards from life to hand until you have 5 life left. So with that activate main, you can put those 17 and 18s back into the deck if you happen to draw them. And I think that means that we'll only probably play like maybe 2 of each 17 and 18, just so that like they don't end up in life and you get super unlucky. I mean, that could still happen, but with 2 copies, you're hoping that at least one of each are going to be in your deck, right? That's the main hope, at least. But yeah, very cool on Awakened side. Let's read Ginger Town. We have permanent if your opponent's leader is a green cell and this card's in your battle area. And again, read this as if you're the opponent controlling it, right? Your Earthling tokens can't attack, and you can't use your Earthling tokens or green 17-18 cards with energy cost of 2 in a combo. Auto if it's your opponent's turn and this card is in your battle area. When your opponent plays a mono green cell from their hand, play 2 Earthling tokens, 1000 power, 0 combo, and 0 combo power from your battle area, and your opponent can't activate extras with a counter skill for duration of the game. All right, quite a few things with this card. Firstly, they had to go ahead and give it the green treatment and say you can't use counter extra cards for the duration of the game. So no dormant potential. You are open up to certain things like maybe Oceania Shenron, maybe Majin Buu Unadulterated Malice. Those are things you could use, but yeah, no Shocking Death Ball, no Homicidal Clones from the looks of it. That is a really tough stipulation. I can't lie. That is making this team a lot less good. But the other thing that currently exists with this card is synergy with Dark Power Black Mass Sand, where your opponent is technically playing cards that have 15,000 power or less by a non-keyword skill. So BMS makes them pitch, I believe, 4 cards when they play the Earthling tokens off Ginger Town. So does that mean that BMS is going to be errated, or does that mean that it might even just get banned? We don't know yet, but it's very safe to assume that that interaction is not going to be allowed to exist unless, for some reason, Bandai wants hand control back in the format. That's also a possibility, although I think it's a very minor possibility, because that's kind of the issue with green, is that when hand control is way too good, it's degenerate and completely unfun. So I hope they would realize that we don't want that, right? So yeah, again, maybe BMS gets errated, maybe it gets banned. Who knows? But we have the Awakened side of the leader, which is only a 10k, which also doesn't seem great, but let's give it a read. Permanent, unless there are 1 or more cards of both 17 and 18, both green energy costs of 2 under this card, you can't activate Z Awaken. Auto once per turn when you use one of your opponent's battle cards in the combo. This card gets plus 5,000 power till the end of your opponent's turn. Okay, so you get somewhat Senzu beamed into being a 15k leader defensively. When this card attacks, draw 1, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost of 3 or less from your drop or your opponent's battle area, and place it under this card. So that's how we'll get the guys under our leader in order to Z Awaken. So you know what? Actually, being a 10k leader might not be all that bad as long as you can proc the bean effect often enough. Because in a true hand control deck, you don't really want to be giving your opponent resources from their life, like if you look back to the Cell Surge days. And this leader can do that while still attacking a 15k leader, not doing damage. That actually might be pretty good. Now, here are our 17 and 18s that we play to our opponent's board via Awaken. They both had deflect. The 18 says if your opponent's leader is a green cell, when this card's played, your opponent draws 1 card. And the 17 says if your opponent's leader is a green cell, when this card's played, discard 1 card from your hand. So this kind of leads into a very interesting Awakening mechanic where as a cell player, you draw 1, your opponent pitches 1, instead of like you drawing 2, for example. Pretty neat stuff there for sure. Then we have our slew of Z leaders. So we have the first one, Cell, waiting impatiently. We have 1 Z energy cost, Z awaken for a green over a green cell with an original power of 10,000. Z stack 2 with green cell leaders. Auto and card attacks, draw 1. Auto if your life's at 3 or less, and you play 1 Android 18 with energy cost of 2 from under this card into your opponent's battle area, which will be another way to proc that auto, which is cool. When you take damage from an opponent's attack, place up to 1 cell about to explode from under this card on top of this card. Now let's read that Z leader. We have Cell about to explode. It is a free Z awaken, but it costs 3 Z energy. You'll probably just almost always play it from the Cell waiting impatiently. But anyways, permanent, this card can't attack. Permanents, if there's a Cell perfect resurrection under this card and your life becomes 0. Instead of losing the game, choose all your opponent's battle cards in unisons other than Earthling tokens, place them in their drop, and add the top 2 cards of your deck to your life. Then place 1 Cell perfect resurrection from under this card on top of this card. Auto at the beginning of your turn, add all of your life to your hand. Okay, so they built in a way to basically proc that second permanent, which is really good. So yeah, this thing being a total bomb and blowing up your opponent's unison is, again, really, really good. I'm not seeing any downside yet, except for the sort of convoluted method this all happens in. And I guess you'll only be at 2 life once you get to your bigger Z leader, which is Cell perfect resurrection, which could be a small downside. But anyways, Z awaken for 2 green, your life's 3 or less, green Cell. So this is playable over Cell reboot. Technically, we'll see if it actually ends up being good there. That's a whole different discussion. So when this card's placed in your leader area, this card gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. Okay, so for being at 0 or going from 0 to 2 life, you will have a pseudo sensimine for 25k. That is pretty huge. When this card attacks, draw 1, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. Activate battle once per turn. Activate and activate battle skill on 1 green extra with both Cell and Kamehameha in its card name without paying its energy cost. Once again, a very, very cool effect. However, it is worded in a slightly problematic way, at least for Cell's Earth Destroying Kamehameha, because the question is, you're activating specifically the activate battle skill on this card. Does that mean you also get to proc the auto? Because the auto says when you activate this card. It's not necessarily worded like when you activate the activate battle of this card, but it's a whole like kind of semantics thing. Is the activate battle being activated constituting the entire card being activated? We're gonna have to wait for more judge rulings on that. So unfortunately, this deck is like not ready to test, mostly because of the BMS thing and because of this thing being unknown. So yeah, if that's been answered, drop it down in the comments. I haven't seen confirmation yet, but hopefully it's going to allow you to activate the entire effect of the card. But anyways, in the actual set, we have Cell's full power Kamehameha, 1 cost, activate battle. If your leader's a green Cell Z leader, draw 1 card, then choose 1. You can choose one of your green Cell cards and it gets plus 15k power for the battle, or you can choose 1 keyword skill on one of your opponent's battle cards and negate that skill for the turn. Very yellowish effect, which is kind of neat. Or if it's your turn, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. So a good slew of effects. The 15k on defense is super solid. The keyword skill negation might also be good. That kind of makes this a free Final Flash in some cases in this deck. Very, very cool stuff for sure. All right, now we have a slew of 1-drops. We have Cell, Birth, Omen. We have a 1 cost auto when cards play. They go top 5, add up to 1 green Cell with a cost of 5 or less to your hand, then shuffle. Auto limit 1 for a green if your leader is a green Cell Z leader and you remove one of your opponent's Earthling tokens from the game. When this card used in a combo, play 1 green Cell with energy cost of 3 and 10k power from your deck, then shuffle your deck. Some of you guys might be thinking about the OG 3-drop Cell that's been limited to 1 in the Dragon Ball Super card game. That card has 15k power, so don't get your hopes up too high about that one. We have Cell, Chrysalis Form, 1 cost, 1k. When this card's played, draw 1. And then same auto limit 1 if your leader's a green Cell Z leader, you remove 1 of your opponent's Earthling tokens from the game. When this card is used in a combo, play 1 green Cell with energy cost of 3 and 10k power from your deck, then shuffle. Then we have Spy Robot, collecting cells, 1 cost, activate main limit 1 if your leader is a green Cell, and you choose 1 keyword skill on 1 battle card with energy cost of 4 or less in your opponent's battle area or drop. Choose one of your green Cells with energy cost of 3 or less, and that card gains the keyword skill you choose with this skill's skill cost for the turn. Okay, that last one, Spy Robot, pretty interesting. Maybe more of a side deck card than actual engine starter like both of the first 1 cost cells are, but still interesting nonetheless. But yeah, these 2 cells on the left, definitely vital for getting your engine going, getting that cell in play, and then getting awakened. Then we have the various different 3-cost cells, well, there's actually quite a lot of them. So we have Cell, preparing a plan. We have Barrier 10k permanent, add 1 combo cost and energy cost to your opponent's Android 17 and 18, both green, the original energy cost of 2, and you may use them from your opponent's battle area when choosing battle cards with a successor skill cost of a cell in your hand. Okay, so that opens up the door for a lot of different Cell plays. Obviously the Cells, you know, SCR probably making the most sense since it's free. A lot of the other ones cost yellow energy, so if you're not charging yellow energy in this deck, you won't have access to them, but still a very interesting door this opens up. Activate main limit 1 for a green. If your leader is a green Cell with a power of 15k or more, play this card from your hand, play up to 117 and 18, both green energy costs of 2 or less from your deck, or drop into your opponent's battle area with their skills negated, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. Okay, so yeah, this really seems to facilitate that whole successor thing, which definitely makes it interesting. In this build, you probably want to play more of those 17-18s to make sure you have enough copies in your deck to play to your opponent's board, right? I don't know if this is going to be in the more mono green version of the deck. We'll have to kind of wait and see. But then we have Cell, Namekian Absorption. We have 3 cost 10k Deflect. If this card's power is 15 or more, it can't be KO'd once per turn. Auto limit 1, when this card attacks, use one of your opponent's Earthling cards with energy cost of 1 or 1 Earthling token in a combo in your combo area. And if you do, this card gets plus 15k until the end of your opponent's turn. And then activate limit 1, choose one of your opponent's Earthling tokens, switch to rest mode, play this card from your hand. So very easy awakening condition by doing that with this card. Cell, Sand Absorption. We have a 3 cost 10k auto when this card attacks, use up to one of your opponent's Earthling cards with energy cost of 1 or 1 Earthling token in a combo in your combo area. If you do, this card gets plus 10k power till the end of your opponent's turn. Activate limit 1, choose an opponent's Earthling token and switch to rest mode, play this card from your hand, then activate main once per turn. If this card's power is 20k or more, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 5 or less and KO it. So yeah, the 2 Cells on the right definitely seem much better for the mono green variants of the deck, but I do like the fact that Cell preparing a plan does open up the door for green yellow shenanigans. All right, then we have our boss monster for the deck. We have Cell, Pursuit of Despair, 6 drop, 30k double strike, auto when this card's played from your hand. Play up to 2 Cell Junior token, 10k power, 0 combo cost, and 5,000 combo power. And those cards get plus 15k for the turn. Active main limit 1 for 2 green. If your leader's green, your opponent has 3 or more energy, simply play this card from your hand. And then activate main if you or your opponent removes 1 token with combo power from the game, remove 2 markers from your opponent's unison. And I think just simply comboing a token, like if your opponent plays a blocker negate or something, would simply constitute this, which is kind of neat. But yeah, this is like the first time I believe we've seen a Cell chain not really do a whole absorb type thing, which is kind of cool. Like the 3 drops don't go into this card. There's not even a real middle form Cell in the deck except for the one here on the screen, which isn't really part of a chain or anything. It's just play your 3 drops, they do what they do, and then this 6 drop Cell simply gets played for 2 energy. While I don't think it's like the most impressive card in the game, I do kind of like that it takes the reliance off any type of unit absorb mechanic, and at least allows you to play a bit more of a flexible game. Like in theory, you don't even have to play this boss monster. You could play just like green good cards with your various Cells to get there, which might be kind of cool. Anyways, though, we do have a Z deck battle card, Cell, Greedy Absorption, 1 cost 2 Z energy permanent. If this card is in a Z deck, you may play it without paying its Z energy cost by switching 2 of your opponent's Earthling tokens to rest mode instead. So this is going to be the first Z card with 0 Z energy cost. That's kind of nuts, actually. Auto limit 1, when this card attacks, use one of your opponent's Earthling cards with energy cost of 1 or 1 Earthling token in a combo in your combo area. If you do, this card gets plus 5k power till the end of your opponent's turn. Activate main limit 1, if your leader's a green Cell and you choose a total of 2 or more of your opponent's Earthling cards with energy cost of 1 or Earthling tokens, remove them from the game, and this card gets plus 10k power for the turn. Okay, so the potential for a 1 cost 25k beat stick is not very usual for green, but it's also pretty good, I gotta say, not bad. Then we have Cell, Giving Into Despair. So don't forget, you can't use extra cards with counter in this deck as long as you use Gingertown. So this is a 4 cost 15k counterattack limit 1, negate the attack and play this card permanent. If your leader is a green Cell Z leader, you may activate the counter skill of this card in your hand without paying its energy cost by removing 2 of your opponent's Earthling tokens from the game instead. Okay, that's really good. Absolute free negate. And then when this card's KO'd, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 5 or less and KO it. So I don't know if you have any ways to proc the KO yourself. Obviously against like blue, red, and black, that would not get procced very often because they have non-KO removal. But still, I mean, a pretty solid card. We're definitely going to figure out more defenses for this deck since we can't use extra card counters, but it might be more of a combo area, like combo-centric deck, since we can use the various Cell, Kamehameha extra cards for free on the maximum Z leader. So you might want to do that, use more like battle tricks, if anything, and then have like Cell, Giving Into Despair, as your sort of free defense, and maybe some other one cost. There's like a one cost Android 17 negate as well. Now, my overall thoughts on this deck, I really appreciate how this steers away from like the crazy gimmicks that green decks have had in more recent sets. Obviously, this deck does have a fair amount of its own gimmicks, but they're not like too ridiculous or outside the realm of possibility to actually pull off. The one thing I will say, maybe two things I'll say, the Z leader, while yes it is 20k and for the turn it's played 25k, going to 2 life is a very dangerous game to play. And then Cell Pursuit of Despair, not necessarily a super imposing boss card, but it might still be enough to get some things done. I don't know. This one seems a little bit weaker than the Gohan archetype that we'll take a look at later this week for sure. But overall, I mean, this has me more hopeful for green than I've been in the past. So yeah, I definitely want to know in the comments below what you guys think about this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.